Hey, you're here because you want to learn a little bit more about the Year 2 MAT program here at Relay Philly Camden. Well, I'm going to share with you a little bit about it. Now, the Year 2 MAT program is for you if you can say yes and you can identify with any one of these statements. That you want more time to talk about the how and the why of our work as teachers. If you want more discussion about the intersection of equity and rigor in the classroom. If you want more time to plan thematic units, lessons, questions, and learning pathways. If you want more time to participate in a comprehensive self-study of your teaching and your students' learning over the course of your first 2 years as a teacher. And if you want to increase your lifetime earnings and build some invaluable habits of mind and some skills. If you answered yes to any one of those questions, this program very well may be for you. Now, the MAT has 3 separate terms. Summer 2, which is focused on unit planning and culturally responsive teaching. It's about 40 hours of online work that includes a midterm and a final. And during that time, you will be doing that self-paced. It also is 1 week of in-person class that goes from about 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. with about 15 hours of online work. It's a lot of work, but it's so amazing because you get to build a comprehensive, culturally responsive unit plan that's built around an authentic performance task at the end. In the fall then, which begins in August, you get to focus on teaching character strengths, building rigorous assessments, questions, and lessons, and how to engage students in a way that goes beyond the engagement techniques that you learn in your first year to create more authentic discussions that really run themselves. There's a midterm, there's a final in core, and a midterm and a final in content. This part of the term is very academically demanding, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Then, in the spring, your focus shifts entirely to preparing you to get ready to do your MAT defense. Really, we think of the spring as an MAT defense seminar, and there's a lot of one-on-one touch points with both your content professors and your core professor, all in preparation to get you ready to defend your masters. So let's talk a little bit about what goes into that. Now, your summer term begins in June, and there's a week of in-person class. There's also about 40 or so hours worth of online work that need to be completed at a self-paced rate. In the fall, our term begins in late August and goes through December, and finally in the spring, we begin in late January and we finish with master's defenses in early June. In the MAT program, you take really 3 different kinds of courses. You have your core pedagogy course, SGA 303 in the summer, then 304, and then 305. And you have your content course going on at the same time. In addition to that, then, you have SGA 314, and then you finally also have your certification course if you are a New Jersey teacher. All of this combines to prepare you for your MAT defense, a data narrative, which is essentially a paper or written narrative of your students' data, and then a teaching portfolio. All of these that are the culminating final performance task and final comprehensive assessment and celebration of your work. Let's talk a little bit about what goes into the MAT defense, because I think it's really what makes the program great. All year long, you are going to track your students' growth on a student growth and achievement pathway that you create. This includes both academic and character data. In the spring, then, you will complete and turn in a teaching portfolio, or if you are a New Jersey teacher, you'll complete your EdTPA assessment, highlighting actual video clips of yourself, the strengths that you have in the teaching cycle, strengths you have in the area of self and other people and culturally responsive teaching, strength you have in content, and then strength that you have in classroom culture. That includes an actual video submission with written reflection about how all of those different skills have shown up in your course of time as a Relay student and as a teacher. In the spring, you also complete a data narrative and your own original 2 research questions, exploring different facets of your classroom and beginning to understand and unpack the data by seeing how student growth and achievement correlates with other big picture questions you have about your students' learning. All of that comes together in a celebration of your work with an in-person MAT defense That is about a 30-minute long defense process that you'll complete in front of Relay faculty, family and friends, and any students that you choose to bring with you. In the past, we've had teachers bring their students, and it's been a really powerful experience for them. So let's talk a little bit about certification in year 2. If you are a Pennsylvania teacher, you have to already be certified. And that's actually a requirement of the first year, so it should be no problem to get to that place. If you're a New Jersey teacher, you have to have your CE, and you have to successfully complete by the end of the year EdTPA, which is a comprehensive portfolio assessment that you're going to be really well prepared for as a Relay student. You also have to complete the term in good standing in order to get your certification, which is a requirement for graduation. All of that is very manageable if you plan ahead. In year 2, there's actually a lot that you can expect more of. It's different than year 1. In year 2, you can expect more teaching responsibility. For sure, you're going to be taking on more. Research-based discussions, critical perspectives on teaching, curriculum analysis, big questions about the nature of learning and cognitive science, planning, rigor, and design, integrated units, data tracking of your very own student academic and character data, autonomy, comprehensive projects, papers, and reflections, and one-on-one touch points. I personally make sure to meet with all of my year 2 students at least twice a term for at least 45 minutes to discuss your classroom, to discuss your students' data, and to discuss your work as a Relay student and a teacher. You can expect a little bit less of some things. There are fewer observations in year 2, and that's simply because we want to focus our time and energy on analyzing your student data and a little bit less on coaching you in the classroom. Now, with that said, we do offer support, additional support for teachers that feel that they would really benefit from it, but you can expect fewer observations. There also may at times be fewer face-to-face touch points because we do not have things like deliberate practice for those who are residents, and because you're not in your first year. There's a little bit less time that we spend sitting down face-to-face, and because of that, you're going to be a little bit more independent. There's also no deliberate practice, and we don't get that kind of weekly feedback. I wish that we had time for that, but I also want you to be spending that time in your classrooms teaching. There's a little bit less time in class. Now, that's because there are more one-on-one meetings, and that does not mean less work time. It simply means that you're a little bit more independent in that completion. And there's a little bit less plug-and-play practice and a little bit more time spent analyzing, thinking critically, collaborating, and planning. So let's talk about what makes year 2 awesome. I personally love teaching year 2 because of the growth that I see in our teachers during this part of their development. You get to engage with questions, thoughts, and ideas like, how do the students in my class vary? How can I adjust my instructional approach to accommodate learner variability? Questions like, what are the characteristics of an essential question? Are all questions worth asking? Why? Are they both worth asking? Questions like, how can you actionably use planning, unit design to foster understanding? How is understanding related to culturally responsive teaching? Questions like, what culturally responsive practices will promote and ensure inclusive, equitable, identity-affirming, and rigorous learning experiences for all students? Questions like, how do I design and implement rigorous learning experiences that motivate students to engage in authentic application of learning? And how do I reflect on and analyze students' knowledge, skills, and understandings? How do I use this information to adjust my instruction? We also ask a lot of questions about what's really happening in the learning process. Questions like, so what exactly is happening in the brain when we identify mentor passages in a text? How does this help me to teach my students more effectively? The questions, the ideas, the thoughts make it awesome. But the thing that makes year 2 most awesome is the people. You get to be a part of a close, tight-knit cohort that you've already been working with for a year. You get to continue to support each other in your growth, and you get to have opportunities to learn what's going on at other schools, something that's really easy to lose sight of when you're in your first couple years in the classroom. Our students engage in a lot of small group authentic discussions and a lot of collaborative planning. Most of our time in class is spent doing real work with data, as you can see on that laptop right there, and doing real work face-to-face with your peers so that you can share best practices, ideas, and really great questions. Personally, my favorite part of the year 2 curriculum is when I really get to just watch our year 2 students teach each other. I also love to build meta moments into every single session, and I can personally promise that in every session, there will be a moment where we step back and we recognize how the session at large is in itself a model of a teaching method that we've been focusing on. We step back and ask questions like, how would you rate the rigor of this task using risk and ambiguity and depth of knowledge and blooms and ready for rigor? In this lesson, we actually got to look at 3 different research-based ways of defining rigor and talk about which one applied most to a particular task. Meta moments all the way. The course is structured around the same planning method that you'll be using in the summer when you plan your own comprehensive units. We begin by asking essential questions and building all of our learning around an authentic performance task. We focus on enduring understandings that will impact you far beyond this year and that will impact your growth as educators over the long haul. There are central texts in every class that we base much of our learning in. And there's a focus on your students and their real data, and a focus on your students and the real relationships that you have with them. Unlike for the first year where you're still understanding your role in your school, you now have the ability to actually track your students' data and bring it to class every single day. And think about how that data informs your decisions as teachers. And most importantly, we know that every single student is not just a data point, but is a real person that you have a relationship with. And those relationships are at the heart of what we do. Our students, your students, are a part of every single class. The cost of the program overall is $9,500. The funding sources will vary, and depending on your funding source, your out-of-pocket costs will be different, maybe different. With that in mind, I encourage you to consider that this is actually one of the most affordable, high-quality master's degrees that's available, and that's because we spend our time focusing on your classroom, your students, and we have our classes in real schools. So with that in mind, I would love for you to learn a little bit more about what our program has to offer. And in order to do that, I've actually put our 3 syllabi from our core courses into a folder that you can take a look at. These are the real syllabi that will inform the classes that you would take next year. In order to do that, you can go ahead and visit this link at tinyurl.com/year2phillycam. Take a minute just to write that down, or even to open it up in your browser right now, because there are 3 syllabi in there that I spent a whole lot of time working on that I think will give you a really comprehensive view of what these courses are all about. If you have just watched this video and you're thinking, yeah, I might be really interested in applying for this, go ahead and share your Year 2 interest form so that we know that we want to plan on having you as part of our cohort. You'll still need to apply, and you'll still need to demonstrate that you're academically ready. But with that in mind, we want to know if you're intending to apply. If you're not sure whether you're ready to make the commitment for another year of graduate school, I encourage you to speak with your advisor. We are really confident that if you successfully complete year 1 at Relay, that you will be prepared to do really well in year 2. And more than that, we've actually found that over time, our students and our graduate students who choose to come into year 2 actually are much more successful and feel a much stronger level of balance in their lives because of the support that they're getting from their cohort of fellow students and from Relay in order to be successful in their second year. So share with us your intent to apply so that we can plan accordingly, and I personally will be really excited to see you all there. With that in mind, I'm going to pass the baton to you from year 1 to year 2, and I hope to see you in the summer when we get to do what is my favorite part of our Relay curriculum, planning units that you get to design with your own creative and brilliant minds. Thank you so much, and thank you for taking the time to watch this. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can always reach out to me at sbiddle@relay.edu. Have a great day.